if you want to sell a product to women, just add some fruits or flowers to it, and if you want to sell it to men, just add charcoal in front of it, right? I think men have evolved and come a long way, and they've realized that asking for help is should not take a hit on their manliness or ego. Either you go full extreme and become Jason Statham, or you ignore as if nothing is happening. Right? I think the biggest problem with hair loss was that the time you decide to do something, it's usually too late. I think try to understand the science behind what the product does, and is it really based on any science, or is it just a gimmicky product? There are instances when I've personally spoken to consumers who were 16, 17 years old also, and they started seeing hair loss. Typically in these 4 stages is when you can not just prevent hair loss, you can actually reverse hair loss. We don't realize that a lot of people who have great hair would have actually had transplants, including a lot of actors, but they don't talk about it. So when I started tracking that 1 hour of cardio made me lose 400 kilocalories, the next day when I'm measuring how much a burger is, I actually started saying that, oh my god, that's 650 calories, that's equivalent to 1.5 hour of workout. Is it
worth it?
It's so intensive.
I personally have always wanted to try gummies, and I have seen a lot of reviews, so go on YouTube and see a lot of reviews and research. What I really want to know is, are they really effective?
I think
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Good Life Guide. Today we have with us Geet Rathi, who is the VP of Marketing at Mosaic Wellness. With him, we'll talk a lot about men's health, wellness, skincare, hair care, and a lot more. So let's get started. Hi Geet, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much.
It's great having you here. So to begin with, I recently read in an article that men's grooming products, and we also see it in advertising, are typically associated with qualities like strength and a lot of ruggedness, practicality, while women's products are more marketed as enhancing beauty, softness, elegance. Talking about Man Matters, which is one of your major brands at Mosaic Wellness, it deals with men's health. What I'm curious to know is, did you notice any particular barriers or stereotypes that men had about wellness products and services?
Yeah, I mean, it was very interesting to see the shift also for us, because when we started this, the biggest gap we realized is exactly that you need to change the mindset of men that has been conditioned by societal norms since many, many years now. Getting men to ask for help was like, I don't know if you've seen when you're lost, it's the last thing that you do, ask for direction.
Right,
yeah, men don't do that. I think it was the same when it came to health and wellness as well. But what's interesting is over the last couple of years, a lot of shift has happened in the sort of communication going out to men, in what sort of information men are exposed to. And I think that mindset is changing. What it was 5 years back when we started versus what it is now, I think men have evolved and come a long way, and they've realized that asking for help should not take a hit on their manliness or ego. So we've come a long way, I think, and we still have a long way to go though.
Yeah, sure. Similarly, for B-Body wise, how has the messaging changed for women from elegance and beauty?
Yeah, I remember there's this reel that went viral by one of the comedians recently who had said that, if you want to sell a product to women, just add some fruits or flowers to it, and if you want to sell it to men, just add charcoal in front of it, right? I think it was very true a couple of years back, and even in our brand for women, that is B-Body Wise, we've realized that brands traditionally were dictators of self-worth for women, right? And they would tell them that you need to do this to feel better, to feel your self-worth. And that has changed. I think women have evolved. They are looking for a lot more empowerment. And that's what I think we are trying to do. The messaging now has transformed into being partners into their wellness. We are not trying to dictate or tell them what to do. We are really just trying to tell them what can they do to be their best self. And that's a big shift that's happened even in women's marketing.
That's true. I think the only brand that was talking about realness was Dove. For the longest time, and now all the brands are getting on that bandwagon.
True.
Talking about general wellness, there are 3 aspects, according to me, which are very important. One is nutrition, sleep, and lifestyle. How can someone with a busy life juggle between these three without losing their mind?
Yeah, I think without losing your mind is very important because when you really think about it, um, trying to balance all three is actually very difficult, right? And the thought itself seems very overwhelming. I'm a very big proponent of, or a believer of, taking small steps, right? Not making it sound like it's extremely hard or taking big audacious goals to something like this. I think daily small steps compound into great things. So nutrition, I think just being very conscious about what you're putting in your body, is the very first step that you need to take. Sleep, I think bare minimum sleeping 7 hours. Like I myself realized, like when I was in college, I used to take pride in being a person who could sleep for 4 or 5 hours. And people would tell me, you'll regret it later. And I would be like, no, I'm able to get, oh yeah, I do. Yeah, so I think I made a big shift and change in myself, trying to change that habit, saying, you need to get 7 hours of sleep because it has a ripple effect across everything.
Of course.
Yeah, and I mean, lifestyle, for me, it's a lot more about mindfulness, just being present in small things that you do, even for 5 minutes every single day, really compounds to something huge. So the way I think about it, I think take small steps, even one single step, just keep doing it consistently and you will see results.
Yeah, consistency is the key in seeing any kind of change. So talking about consistency, with consistent effort, you can make your skin and hair better. But what we often see is skin and hair is seen as a purely beautification sort of thing, and it takes backseat when it comes to health priorities. But people often overlook the changes, like with changes in your skin and hair can be a signal for a deeper concern. Like we spoke to a gut health specialist, and she said something like acne on skin could be a sign of bad gut health, right? How important it is to shift focus from skin and hair seen as only cosmetic part and not a more vital part.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting and that's very true as well, because for the longest of time, even if you look at the category and the products that are being offered to consumer are also very superficial. One product fit for everyone, right? Whereas if you actually think that skin and hair are indicators of what's happening inside your body, you realize that the symptoms are also very unique to people.
Of course.
Therefore, a one size fit solution doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
I think consumers are also realizing that, and to give credit, a lot of brands are also realizing that, which is why a lot of personalization has gone into it. The fact that almost 30% of shampoo category is now actually specialized shampoos.
Yeah.
Let's say something that deals with dandruff or hair thinning, is a fact that people are understanding that there are nuances. Hair is not just about silky and glowing hair, but the fact that if I have dandruff or if my hair is thinning, it means something is either wrong with my nutrition or maybe I'm stressing too much. I think these are indicators that you should treat very seriously, that your body is trying to give to you. So yeah, I think a small set of consumers are really realizing that, and the more we talk about it, I think it will also gain mass popularity.
Yeah, definitely. I personally have always wanted to try gummies, and I have seen a lot of reviews, so go on YouTube and see a lot of reviews and research. What I really want to know is, are they really effective?
Sure. I think I get that a lot, and I understand why as well, right? Because it seems like a very casual form of supplement.
Yeah.
The context of supplements in a country like India is that people don't like taking pills, right? Because you take a pill when you are unhealthy or you're sick in a country like ours. But if you look at places like US or the Western markets, it's very common for people to take 5 to 6 different supplements, which has not become mainstream in India these days, right? So I think that was one big gap. And second, like you discussed earlier, that consistency is extremely important. I have personally tried taking so many supplements as a tablet, and I've really failed because I didn't like the experience at all.
Okay.
Right. I think what gummies do is that they tackle both of these things. That they make the experience enjoyable, and second, it's no longer stigmatized in your head ki something is wrong with me, which is why I'm taking a supplement.
Got it.
But to answer your question, they're extremely effective. Right. Again, depends on the kind of ingredients that you're using in them, but at least our gummies also, we've clinically tested them with a third party and we've seen great results. We've heard raving reviews from our consumers as well. But of course, expectations should be set right, that what to really expect from not just gummy, any supplement.
Right.
So yeah, I think it really works. You should try them out.
I will. So moving on to a little bit serious topic. Men's health is often stigmatized, right? And mental health has gained momentum in the recent past.
Yeah.
But hair care is different. What does Man Matters specifically do to address this stigma?
Yeah, I think it's the biggest elephant in the barber room, I would say, because either you go full extreme and become Jason Statham, or you ignore as if nothing is happening, right? I think the biggest problem with hair loss was that the time you decide to do something, it's usually too late, because men didn't like asking for help for anything, including hair loss, something that seems so trivial as well, right? What is changing is that we're trying to create a space where we've normalizing that it's okay to ask for help for very trivial things as well. It's not unmanly, so to say. And I think that's really kicking in now. So you're right, it's been ignored and neglected for a long time. But I think that trend is changing, especially if you look at the Gen Z, that's going to become the biggest demographic in our country now, are actually quite okay in asking out and seeking for help. So asking for help at the right time and asking for help from the right expert, I think is extremely important. And I think people are understanding that now. Yeah.
Got it. With so many supplements out there, like you said, right? People don't really like taking supplements, but they become a necessity after a certain age. With that comes a lot of fake information. So there are a lot of fake claims, fake information on the net about this market. What are your top 3 parameters that a person should definitely check before they dive into any of these supplements or gummies?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I would say the first thing is look at all the ingredients that are going into the supplement. Make sure that you understand the dosage that you're getting in those ingredients. Anything that mentions proprietary formulation and does not reveal ingredients, I think is something that you should give you warning signals to be wary of that brand. I think try to understand the science behind what the product does, and is it really based on any science, or is it just a gimmicky product? I think if you do your own research, that's also helpful. Or the best thing, in fact, what we also believe is, don't do your own research, don't Google. You should actually talk to an expert and take their view. And the third thing I would say is look for any clinical studies or clinical validations that let's say any supplement or a brand is trying to give to you, and especially the ones that are being done from a third party. You would see actually a lot of brands mention statistics, and then there's a small star mark which says this is on an internal study on 20 consumers or 30 consumers. That's not really scientific. Consumers should really try to see and understand whether the research paper or the clinical studies are being published by the brand or not, and if they have access to that. So I think if you're just a little bit more vigilant of what's going in it and how legit is the output that they are committing to you, I think that's most important.
And the first step is consulting an expert to kind of get into the right. This is so when I was researching for this particular podcast, I came across this statistic which said that 85% of men suffer from hair issues, and they start as early as in their 20s. What's the primary cause of hair loss? Can you briefly also take us through the stages of hair loss that men suffer from?
I'm glad you said briefly, because I can go on and on about it. But yeah, I mean, there are instances when I've personally spoken to consumers who were 16, 17 years old also, and they started seeing hair loss. And it's just becoming more rampant day in, day out. I think the primary causes are, of course, age genetics, which leads to something called male pattern baldness or androgenic alopecia. The second is the lifestyle, right, and stress, because if you don't have, because of stressful lifestyle, you are not able to balance your sleep, your nutrition, everything takes a hit in your body. And hair is a non-vital organ as per
Yeah.
your brain.
Yeah.
So the moment something is deficient in your body, the first place it cuts off supply of nutrients or essential vitamins is the hair.
Is the hair.
And therefore, it's a very good early indicator that something is wrong with me. I need to supplement myself with either something, or I need to intervene in some of the processes that are happening internally in my body. Broadly, these are the top 2-3 reasons that we see for hair loss
Got
today.
it.
And how it starts is like the most common way to think about stages of hair loss is something called the Norwood-Hamilton scale.
Okay.
So there are 7 stages of hair fall. So stage 1 is basically where you can't even see that there's any hair loss. There's very little receding hairline. Stage 2 is when you start seeing prominent hairline, which is something people call mature hairline these days, that you see that peaks are forming on the sides of your hair. And stage 3 is when you really start seeing deepening of this. So you start seeing a M or a U shape on your hairline, and you start seeing thinning on your crown.
Okay.
And stage 4 is typically when you start seeing balding in the middle of your crown and also on the sides of your hair, right? So typically in these 4 stages is when you can not just prevent hair loss, you can actually reverse hair loss as well.
Okay.
Once it goes beyond the stage 5, 6, 7 and it's reached balding and your hair follicles itself are now completely deteriorated, you really can't revive them anymore. So that's when people go for transplant and stuff. So till the age of 30, 35, if you're within stage 1 to stage 4, you can actually seek expert help and reverse your hair loss.
Got it. So skincare, healthcare, diet, fitness, what small changes can have a big impact? Are there any specific nutrients or foods that can promote stronger, healthier hair?
Yeah, I think I believe in this mantra called if you track it, you can crack it. So I think the first thing that anybody should do is regular health checkups, right? Because if you're deficient in some of these things, for example, vitamin B, it directly affects hair loss, for example, which is actually biotin is the most common nutrient that most of the Indians are deficient in, right? So if you do regular health checkups, then you get a sense of what am I deficient in so that you start supplementing accordingly. That's one way. That's the more proactive way. But if you start seeing signs, let's say, like we discussed some of these things, hair thinning ho raha hai, or you're seeing excessive hair loss, then the best thing and the first thing to do is just reach out to an expert so that they will help you arrive at what is the root cause for this. And later you'll realize that because this is an early indicator, that root cause might actually be affecting a lot of other things. And if you let it manifest, it will lead to a lot more serious conditions. So I think if you want to be proactive, just do regular health checkups, keep checking in with experts. And if you're not so proactive, even if you're reactive, the first step should be to reach out to an expert and not trust Google. Like on my own personal experience, most of the things when I Google ultimately leads to that I have some sort of cancer or something.
It's just who has the best SEO.
Yeah, that's
so
also
my friend
true.
always says, I'm Googling this. She's like, no, it's just who has the best SEO is going to get you. And that's the problem you will have. And what you said about health checkups also, right? So even if I go to a dermatologist, the first thing she tells me is get a blood test done, and then we'll know what deficiencies you have and stuff like that. So that's really important. Talking about Google, being a marketer yourself, social media has had many messages about hair care and about men's hair appearances. Do you think that influences the feelings of men about their appearance, and do you think that has hindered or helped their self-esteem?
I think it's I think social media is a tool like any other invention that we've had so far. And why I say that is because I think social media is a very self-fulfilling prophecy. So the way the algorithm also works is that if you start seeing more self-help content and self-improvement content, then the algorithm will start showing you more of that.
Definitely.
So you see positive content, you get a lot more positive content. But on the flip side, if you start consuming more content which are quick hacks, or how do I get to XYZ thing in just 10 days, or how do I lose weight in 15 days, then that's the sort of content that you'll keep seeing. And therefore, when you start seeing any of these kind of content, it really impacts how you react to it. So if you're seeing positive content, I think it's great because you're a part of conversations that really help you and gives you great advice. But on the other side, it's also putting a lot of pressure on you. And if you don't achieve that in 15 days, which is anyway unrealistic, that's going to put even more pressure on you that maybe I'm not doing something right. So I honestly think it's a great tool. but it really lies in the conscious choices that consumers themselves make every single day in the sort of content that they want to consume. But I think it weighs both ways. It's helping and not helping at the same time.
But with your clientele, have you seen people who have kind of been very low on self-esteem because of their hair issues, or have you had any cases like that?
Yeah, of course we have. I think while we really want people to understand that hair loss is actually more about internal than external, a lot of people actually start deciding to do something because of external, because
it
it's
is the
affecting,
biggest motivator. I mean, its
Correct.
appearance is what everyone focuses on.
Yeah, so I think I agree that because especially on social media, people only try to put out their best self, it actually just hinders this, right? Because, like, for example, we don't realize that a lot of people who have great hair would have actually had transplants, including a lot of actors, but they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting here wondering, what am I doing wrong that I don't
this
have...
guy at 60 has such great hair,
Correct.
why am I losing?
Not?
That
it just puts unnecessary pressure. And the problem with something like hair loss is that the reason why men don't talk about it or about any health issues, because they believe that they are going through this alone, when that is not really the case. But social media actually portrays it that, you know, something is wrong with you if you're not able to maintain a great head of hair, for example. So I think, yes, for sure it's affecting people in a negative way, but I would also like to say there are a lot of people who are trying to put out the right message as well. Influencers, brands who are trying to bring this hypocrisy out and say that, you know, it's absolutely normal, you know, this is not the true picture, and this is what you can do to really actually start getting better. So I really think there are both sides to this.
Definitely. What advice would you give to men who are starting to notice hair loss and premature graying? Like you said, you know, go to the expert is the first step.
Yeah.
What else would you like them to do?
Yeah, I think understanding that this is very normal, because I see very two extremes. There are people who resign themselves to it. My dad, my grandfather, everybody had hair loss. I'm also facing hair loss. That's maybe the fate that I have, and I'm going to end up like them. So what can I do about it? So I think we need to change that mindset, because 30, 40, 20 years back, maybe they didn't have access to experts, the right products, the right technology, which has changed now. So understanding that at the right time, if you intervene, it can be solved, it can be reversed as well. So you don't have to really live with it. On the other side, you also need to understand that it is absolutely normal. It's not something that you need to restrain yourself from opening up about. If you reach out to experts and seek help, that's really great. And the third I would say is really understanding that just reaching out to an expert or just starting medication is not important, is not the only thing that can give you results. You really need to start looking at your lifestyle, because if you're having this, really treat it like an indicator that I need to relook at my life, at my choices, even the smallest of those, and need to understand what do I need to change on a daily basis. Be it stress, be it sleep, be it the diet, be it the exercise that I'm putting or not putting in. So yeah, I think these three things.
Definitely. How should men in their later years, say early 30s, approach hair and beard care differently from men who are more than 40? So, especially if we are looking at practical, low maintenance solutions, what can men do to kind of deal with these issues?
Sure. So like we discussed stages of hair fall, right? There's a strong correlation between your age and stage of hair fall.
Okay.
So let's say if you're in your early 30s, there's a strong chance that you're between stage 1 to stage 4. And if you are there, then you need to make sure that you be more proactive and you're able to reverse. Now, depends on what you want. If you are saying, ki, I just want to maintain my hairline, I want to make sure that it's not worse, then great, reach out to an expert and you get a plan accordingly. Or if you're saying that I want to regrow my hair and I really want to reclaim what I had earlier, then your plan would be different, slightly more intensive. But in either ways, I think just making sure simple steps being done consistently over time will definitely help you get both of these things. When we talk about people who are in the 40s, I think there's a higher likelihood and chance that they are stage 4 or above. Therefore, the chance of regrowing their hair might be lower, but maintaining their hair might still quite be possible. So easy things like making sure that you're getting the right nutrition,
Right.
and not just about nutrition, it's also about, let's say, building blocks of your body like protein, because it slightly becomes less difficult as you age. So I think really speaking to an expert and trying to understand how do I change simple things in my lifestyle or in my diet to make sure that I maintain what I have at this point of time. So I think having the right expectations and then choosing what is right for you basis your outcome that you want. And beard care is pretty simple, just making sure that your beard has great nutrients, has inflow of nutrients, and second is very easy to maintain, so you can use tonics or serums or oils to make sure that it's easy to maintain.
And this is a very rhetorical question, but do you think starting hair care or beard care without having an issue is necessary?
That would be my dream come true, to be honest, because if all consumers understand that, being proactive and preventive is always better than being in a reactive mode, because then you are actually taking care of things before they become worse for you. So it brought a smile to my face thinking that maybe we'll get to a place where, I'm sure we'll get there, because as consumers understand and become more aware, then I think people will start taking care of these things early on.
Definitely. So Geet, like we spoke about aging, right? Aging is a very natural part of our lives. And like we said, making changes early on can help you age more healthily.
Yeah.
When men age specifically, what are the unique changes that they see, whether it's hormonal or reduced energy? What can they do? What are some practices that they can do that they can integrate early on to age healthily?
Yeah, and I might sound like a broken record, but I think the first thing is becoming aware of what's wrong in your body. I think just being slightly more mindful, which includes starting from the very input that, can I start doing regular checkups so that I'm aware where is it that my body is heading, and then you can decide to intervene in very small steps. What supplementation to add, right? For example, depending on how your blood report is, but more from a holistic point of view, I think making sure that you're getting sound sleep, making sure that you're exercising regularly is, I think, very, very critical as you age as well. Because like you were discussing earlier, some of these things, as we age and our body's efficiency reduces, it starts cutting off supply to some of these extremities. And if you don't want that to happen, and if you really want to lead a more fulfilling life and want to have greater energy, I think the key to that is putting the right things in your body, making sure that you're not deficient in something, and making sure that you are supplementing that with great sleep, with good exercise. I think very simple. Just doing these three things will also put you in a much, much better place. And if you start with one healthy habit, I was speaking to somebody, and from my own personal experience, while everybody says that if you want to maintain or lose your weight, diet is the most important thing. I think the nuance over there is that if you start working out, and this from my personal experience, when I started running and I started working out, what ended up happening is I started relooking at all my other choices also. So when I started tracking that 1 hour of cardio made me lose 400 calories, the next day when I'm measuring how much a burger is, I actually started saying that, oh my god, that's 650 calories, that's equivalent to 1.5 hours of workout.
Is it worth it?
It's so intensive. When I started running, I realized that I'm running, let's say, 10 kilometers in a day. And the next day or the same day, I didn't get enough sleep. I only slept for 4 or 5 hours. The next day, I could clearly see that I'm not able to run as much as I usually do or that easily. So I think one single conscious healthy habit has a very cascading effect on every other thing. So just being conscious, making sure that you adopt small healthy choices, I think really goes a long way.
Definitely. And it's more so from what you do. You cannot like say, okay, if this person is doing it, मेरे को भी ऐसे होगा. It's
Correct.
You have to do it, and everyone has very busy lives. So quickly, what are some low maintenance skincare tips for men?
I think very simple. You should cleanse, moisturize, and protect. I think everybody's made this a very common norm. Like while women have moved to 10-step skincare routine, I think for men, it's very basic. Just doing this, and that's what I have also been following. That just making sure that you use the right face wash, you moisturize your skin, and then you protect it with a good SPF sunscreen. And if you really need to add one more step, then I would say just doing the cleansing part once more in the night as well.
Right. So you were just talking about the morning routine.
Yeah, which is why I said it's for those few people who really want to go that extra step. But I think this really goes a long way.
Definitely. Our last question. So the podcast is called The Good Life Guide. So I need one tip of the day for someone who's seeking a good life of happiness and peace of mind.
I think conscious small efforts done consistently, and just let compounding do its magic. I think that's what I really, really strongly believe in, and I really think it leads to big outcomes.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Geet. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.